Lowering your trucks is probably one of the most common modifications you're going to make on your truck. But a lot of people don't consider their shocks when they're doing that. When the truck is at original height, the shock is sitting a bit more up and down straight. Now, I'm exaggerating, but when you lower it, especially if you go more than 3 inches, the shock's going to lean and lean and lean. Once you get to a certain lean, your shock's basically ineffective and it's actually giving you a rougher ride. So today, I'm going to show you how to install the shock relocator kit and correct that geometry. My name is David Welch. I'm at Brothers Tech Center every single week to show you more handy tricks on your truck. You make sure you subscribe. I'll be right back and show you how to do this, baby. You're going to need to be safe, of course. You have to find flat ground to be on. You want to chuck your front tires. We're going to go ahead and jack the frame up, and we're going to get jack stands underneath the frame rails right here. And we need to have the rear end be kind of independent and go up and down. Now I've got a jack under the rear end right now. That's because when I pull off my shock, sometimes the rear end will come down and startle me. So I put the jack underneath there and keep it safer. Now, your shock's top on the bolt, bottom bolt, no big deal. It comes off easy. Your U-bolt, however, down here, they can come off very difficult. I've got oil on this. It's been soaking up for a while, but these really get rusted up, so we're going to see how tough this may be or not. All right, that ain't gonna play. So, next thing we do, breaker bar. All right, that ain't working either. So we're gonna extend our breaker bar. You know what, that actually worked, but that's a little bit more strain than I want to do. So I'm going to show you plan B or plan C, whatever I'm on. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these guys off. Now you got a couple of different ways of doing it. Sometimes you can just cut from right here, but with the curvature of the U-bolt, sometimes you won't be able to get it down. So what I'm going to be doing is the nut on the bottom, I'll go ahead and take the nut and I'm going to kind of cut it in half. I don't want to cut too far because I don't want to cut my bottom shock absorber here. I'm going to be replacing this bottom shock plate right here, but I don't want to damage it in case somebody else can use it. So once I cut into that, a lot of times it'll make it weak and I can get the guy off. So give me a minute and let's see if that works. So here you can see the nut. I just simply take off the bottom 1 inch of threads and then I'll cut through it like this. And then generally that'll get it to where it come off. And this did come off pretty easy. Now our problem is our U-bolt still won't come out because they are just rusted into the rear axle. So I'm not real happy about that, but it is pretty lucky for you because now I can show you the worst case scenario and what you're going to have to do to get off this kind of situation. So I've got my bolts off. I've got my bottom plate off right here. The next thing I'm going to do is I will cut my U-bolt at the top right here, and then I'll be able to hammer it left and right on either side, and hopefully that'll wiggle it out and I'll be able to get this out. Let's see how that works. Now when you're cutting your U-bolt, of course you don't want to cut your rear axle here. So just go nice and slow and gentle, and you'll generally hear a relatively large pop when you make it through. So now let's see if it'll maneuver some and loosen up. All right, so I cut it right here and I tried to get it to bend. It's moving a little bit, but it's just not working. So next we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the U-bolts off at the top without cutting into our perch right here. And then we're going to try to hammer down and up, and we're going to see if that works. It's not exactly part of the job necessarily to do the U-bolts, but this is a pretty common thing that happens. 50 years old, a lot of rust, so go ahead and prepare that it might happen and have these sitting aside just in case. You don't want to get halfway through your project and then find out you're going to have to get something and have it up on blocks for weeks. So now that I've got this guy here, what would normally happen is I would have just taken my nuts off and this would have just slid off nice and easy like, and then I would just put on my new perch. Now, if I line these up, you can see the difference of where the lower perch is going to be. So here the bolt's going to be coming out of here. It's a little bit further forward and a little bit straighter. So that's your difference between these two and helps you bring your geometry right. So I'm going to go ahead and get this guy on, and then I'll show you how to do the top perch. Now this is your upper perch. You're going to have to take it out. It's held on by rivets, one in the front, one in the back. Right here's where it attaches on the frame. And what you're going to do there is, I like to grind off the top of the head and then get a punch and then pop it through. Sometimes you'll see guys use the chisel on there, but I kind of don't like that because it can elongate the holes and such, so I like to do it like that. Now I want you to notice the difference between this piece and the new piece that's going to be going on there. So you'll note right here is where the shock is going to mount, and you can see that that's a lot different than where it used to go. Now you'll notice on this piece here too that it has a slotted end and one end is not slotted. The slotted end is going to go towards the front, and the other end is going to go towards the back, and that's going to take your shock and move it from way back here all the way to here. Before you tighten this bracket up, this is real important right here, this bolt has to come from the bottom up, and the nut needs to be on top so that it'll clear the top of the shock right here, and I can slide that in and then bolt it up. You make sure you put your washer on first, get that in, washer, lock washer, and bolt or nut. So next I'm going to go ahead and get the bottom on. So this is the lower shock mount that I took off the old bracket, and I'm just simply going to go ahead and bolt it in here. You don't necessarily have to do this. You do get other bolts that come with the kit. I just happen to like this better, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. You don't have to take the bed off in order to do this job. You can get these rivets off from the bottom, and the whole job should only take you about an hour or two depending on what kind of rusty bolts you run into or not. It's a little bit difficult to see, but the shock absorber here, it used to be way lean down, and now we've got it back into a proper geometry. We're actually going to have the shock work, and we're going to get a better ride, just like you are when you install it. We'll see you on the road, man.